Alrighty. Thank you so much for your patience. It's been crazy. I've been saying this every reading, just trying to catch up. When you're gone for a month for holidays and you're only able to do 3 or 4 readings between around Christmas and a month later, it's tough, but I'm getting there. I actually didn't hide your last name, so that should be done. Okay, got it. Okay. So let's pull this. So I have to go stop video and then I have to share screen. Yeah. All right. So very interesting. Okay. So so it's not a very heavily aspected chart. You can see there's not much in this corridor. But sometimes that aspect really lies to me. So we shall see what it has in store. But all right. Anyways, one quick second. Okay, cool. So Sag rising, Neptune first house. That's always my cat has that Esme, but in Pisces, and it's interesting. I always think of like a Neptune first house, even if the rising is Sag, Neptune was in Sag and you're born, it's energy where even as a Sag rising, you can take on traits of Pisces rising to your identity and kind of how you put yourself out there. And the thing I always take from Neptune first house people is that they're very magical in the sense that magic, compassion, um, just like they have this appearance too, like all those things that they're very dreamy, right? And they have this kind of like usually like this very like anything is possible type energy about life. And yeah, usually very like dreamy eyes and spiritual people, very giving. So and yeah, like a big part of kind of your personality is around the high Neptune, right? Which is basically like the Sag rising combining. So it's really like Sag rising people, life is an adventure for them. That's how I see it. It's life is an adventure. A lot of them are big travelers and they're wisdom seekers. And because you have a fire rising in Sag, makes Jupiter your ruling planet. So yeah, just expansion, growth on that kind of philosophical level is so massive. Now Sun is next to your retrograde Mercury in Leo, and Jupiter chart ruler is not far from it, 10 degrees away. So I think when I see this, right, the Leo and Sag, and then the Moon in Libra with Pluto on it, it's very interesting. The reason being is that it forms not with your big three, not by angle, a mini grand trine, which is basically that the like Sag just by element sextiles Libra, meaning it's a good relationship between Libra, your moon, and Sag, and then Leo sextiles Libra, and then of course Leo trines Sag. So and you have Sun trine ascendant. So that's nice. If your big three is like a ship of sorts, right? And there's, I mean, it's obvious, the moon is more important, but if you just want to use that analogy, it's like all three captains are going in the same direction, is the way to think about it. So good stuff there. Let's see. So Leo, ninth house, which is the house of Sag. So it's a very, 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 very truth-seeking kind of chart. Someone where ninth house and Sagittarius is emphasized in Jupiter, they're really here to learn and teach. So they're often, I mean, well, the thing about Sag is that sometimes, one sec, can you put eye drops in my eyes, man? Allergies are killing me. Hold on. I hate it because like it looks like I'm like high or something, like smoking. And I literally like do not can't even want to get like it's a long story, but horrible reaction. Anyways, okay. So yeah, like with the ninth energy, right? There's Sag, Jupiter, ninth. You're someone, you're a seeker. And to be a Leo, um, and not have any major aspect in ninth, you have this very abundant energy where it's fire, right? So fire is like the element of action, of assertiveness, of guide. It's like that guiding force, right? That you get these glimpses of like, where you want to go. Um, like these little mini intuitive like kind of just peaks, and then you guide yourself based off of that. And fire in itself is very much, yeah, about action. The thing with fire though, like I made a post today about some of the worst traits, the potential, because everything in astrology and your whole chart, like I'm not going to tell you like you're Leo and you're like this, right? I'm not going to say that, because there is, everything is about how you manifest the Leo, how you manifest the Libra. There's like my post says, there's a high, medium, low, everything in between level of manifestation of everything in your chart. That's why, people who argue that free will doesn't exist and are still astrologers literally are contradicting themselves, because the whole point of astrology is gaining awareness, and having like an inner map of sorts that you can navigate yourself through life with. So that's something that stands out right away. Now what's interesting also about fire is that, yeah, like the big thing is that sometimes it can, especially with ascendant, trining Sun, you'll be very good at achieving your goals. Most likely, we'll see what the rest of the chart says. In your North Node's conjunct Saturn in Virgo, so that is a big ambition. A 10th house North Node, right, conjunct Saturn. You have a very important dharma that in this lifetime, and being in Virgo, karmically, you're really trying to take your past life gifts that you may have not been able to fully use. And I see this with a lot of my clients, right? I always think of like witches, like that kind of energy of like um, not having been able to manifest, or really be how you truly were because of society. Um, so So yeah, but we'll get into that later. But like, yeah, just like South Node Pisces, you are someone who is a past life mystic for sure. And but like there's this tendency to stay too close to home with your talents. You've done a lot. And do you have any water in your chart? If you Yeah, you have your Venus and Cancer, but you've kind of, and you have Neptune, first house, but still, like, there's not like an abundance of water, but you still might feel connected to water energy because that's your South Node, is your past life tendency. It's an energy that you're very comfortable with. So Cancer is obviously, or Pisces, excuse me, is obviously, water, compassion, very loving, and all that. And then, the fact that, the South Node is ruled by Neptune in your first house, it could really indicate to me that there's like past life talents that are meant to be manifested in this life. Like I was saying before, that might, that lost my train of thought. Basically, that, because the ruler of the South Node is Neptune, right? And the Neptune's in the first house. So people who have that, it's like they're meant to have their dream life, their imagination, their intuition, all that uh manifest physically in their personality, in their everyday life, so forth. So yeah, I think that's kind of another indication of another clue, right? In regards to this. But we'll see what everything says. So with a Leo Sun ninth, obviously, you have the Mercury conjunction, but it is combust. Which means that when Mercury is too close to the sun, unless it's like so close, between 0.17, which it isn't for you, it can actually, the sun almost, like, it doesn't make someone stupid or anything. It can just make someone, um it's almost like the sun burns Mercury. Mercury is the brain, the mind. Um but it's in Leo, and Jupiter's close by, so it's in the ninth house too. So, and it's retrograde, which is very interesting. So there's this real ability to kind of to see the big picture, and to have this very enthusiastic, um, almost like, in a good way, like inner child, like very, very like bright energy, with the Leo, Jupiter, and then Sun, of course. So the Mercury, so the way I do astrology is different than how others do it, 'cause I taught myself. And like, I just make all these connections, right? And one connection I'm making right now is South Node and Pisces in the fourth house. Okay, so I think I take that as a tendency. Fourth house is Cancer. Someone who, yeah, like I said, stay too close to home, has a tendency to have these like mystical talents. Maybe it has to do compassion, service. Um, but maybe their family tied them down too much, or they kind of feared like really showing the public. That's what I'm getting more of a hit of, right? They didn't. So when you have Mercury retrograde in a chart, it means that in a past life you underspoke, or you overspoke, or you overthought, or you underthought something with the mind, and it kind of pushes that energy more internally in this life. So in the past life energy I'm getting from you is that there's maybe something, whether it was a self-limiting belief that caused you to not uh you know to not speak up, or to not in this respect fully manifest these talents. So Leo is obviously the sign of creativity, of creative self-expression. So to have that with have your son Leo in this lifetime, it's a karmic clue that the universe wants you to be more out there, and the Mars and Gemini will also combine with that, right? As will most of your chart, the Sag rising, and um you know the moon in Libra too. It's a air moon. So, but it's conjunct Pluto, which is very massive, which makes it feel almost like a Libra slash Scorpio moon. But basically, yeah. So Mercury retrograde, it's people have that, even if it's like a Leo, a Mercury in Leo, which is not usually shy, it can make one shy. Um, and yeah, so the one thing about the combustion, is that it definitely, it can sometimes make it hard, for people can be a little bit dogmatic, and as a having like Jupiter Sag energy, that could be a shadow side of you potentially, in the sense of like, this is, like having spent so much time and being such a seeker, right? You have all this knowledge, this wisdom from all over the place, and then you really really want, and a lot of people, learn this kind of, like, I'm a Sag moon, right? So I learned this, earlier, and I don't do it much anymore, but it still, can come out. But, to kind of push your opinions, and, like, because, like, let's say, like, you're an astrologer, right? Let's random example. You've like learned this art slash science. It's done so much good for you that you want your loved ones to also benefit from it, but maybe they're just not ready. So a big lesson there is to just allow people to do things at their own speed. And that can be, it's not always easy. It's not always easy, but it's a lesson. It's very, very important. Um, so even like, Sun conjunct Mercury, it is very good for communication. And it does create, a very active mind. But there can be like a sense of feeling a little bit distracted when listening to other people. Um, and the mind can like wander. And most people with that are better talkers than listeners, but because it's retrograde, at least the first 30 years of your life, it's more of an internal process where, like, as a soul, the reason for that is to, and lots of people with that retrograde, they can be, ruminate and overthink things and whatnot, but it's because they're meant to like really, like, almost analyze, like, how I want to be in terms of my communication, how I want to be in terms of like my thoughts, um, what I want to value, and then they come into their own. But they're usually quite right brains. So a lot of people with Mercury retrograde may, struggle. They really have to find their own lane. Like struggle in terms of like early schooling can be difficult because it's so Capricornian and left brain, but they're very right brain and abstract. But then again, I know tons of Mercury retrograde people. It's only like, I think, 15% of the population that have it. Um, Also, like, when Mercury is in retrograde, as it just was, um, people with Mercury retrograde natal tend to feel more at ease during those periods. They're really good periods for you. Um, so yeah, definitely lots of curiosity. Um, but yeah, um, and like, there can be like a talent in writing, and I just think it connects like the self with the mind. That's how I take it. Um, so yeah, it definitely gives like a lot of mental energy for sure. And Yeah, so I think it's interesting how those two things play out, because usually, like, it's can be difficult for those people to listen, but then you have this energy you know of the retrograde, which would make you more of a listener than if you just had if you had a direct Mercury, it'd be way different. And you might actually, like, it might actually be like detrimental for your growth, soul growth, because you might, um not listen at all and really just want to just throw um your knowledge out there. So, okay, let's talk sun and moon. Obviously, moon and Libra, it's a moon sign where the moon is what to me the most important part of your chart. because as the sun represents our identity and who we are. Your Leo self is here to express the inner child and and to um, get past life inhibitions around creativity, around being just silly and like having fun. Honestly, Leo's about fun, right? And and it's in the ninth house. It's really linked to traveling physically or metaphorically is what how I call it, right? Whether it's through like something like this, which would be like a metaphoric travel, or something like a physical travel where you fully immerse yourself into a new culture, and through that you learn a bunch about everything, right? So one quick second. Okay. So yeah, that's big. That is big. So Libra moons as a whole, that you always have to watch out for lacking boundaries. Um that's the thing with Libra moons. They can often lack boundaries. And it comes from the whole idea of Libra is the balance, as you may know, and it's the moon, so it's unconscious. So it's really the moon is the most important because it's what makes us feel secure. Like the sun is what we're striving towards, right? It's like who we are, our identity, like how we shine, we're meant to shine, all that. But the moon is like what we need to feel secure. It's very karmic. It's very, so having Pluto on your moon, right, just regardless of sign, usually speaks to like an overly domineering and sometimes controlling mother. At times there can be like trauma around there, but a lot, like how I usually see is that there's usually like some type of power play, some type of like power dynamic. And it does end up making the individual a lot more emotionally resilient, and and it could actually be a blessing in disguise, because even though it may have been difficult early on, it does, Libra moon with Pluto on it will will definitely not take shit like a Libra moon and otherwise might, right? And they can become very, very like have like tons of like emotional durability and ability to kind of go through really tough times, but just transform, right? That's what Pluto is about. It's the underworld. So emotionally, karmically, so many of my clients, I wish I did a study, have either, Pluto conjunct moon. The square moon is a huge one, right? Not many oppositions though. Um, and that's because they were meant to have the parents they did. And I don't really like to go with like the moon is the mother, the sun is the father. I just like to say like the moon is like the early nurturing. That's kind of what I'm getting to, because I'm talking to more and more people, and it's just more tricky in today's world um to represent, like when we have do we have a follow-up? I'm not sure if I should probably look at that from the camera version. Female, my eyes are right. Okay. I wasn't even gonna do a reading tonight, but then I got like a burst of energy. Um, yeah, you gotta follow. You gotta follow. Also, I gotta send you a DM. I just wanna have it. Okay. Okay, cool. Okay, Okay, I just saw your message about the great attractor. I honestly have no idea what that is. Let's see what she says. So yeah, I guess it's at 13, 14 degrees. Um, yeah, so I'm just gonna be frank. Um, so for me, um, as an astrologer, as I told you, I'm self-taught, but like the way I talk, okay, I just lost. I've been having to go on my freaking hotspot for so long. So you asked in the DMs about the great attractor, and I didn't even see that message, which is so weird. Okay, and yeah, you've been so patient. I love it. And don't look at any photos. Don't look at any photos. Okay, so now I can move you. Okay. So okay, to be frank, so yeah, it's basically like well, actually, what she said, it's at 13, 14 Sag. Is that what she said? And it's great for manifesting. So yeah, I mean, you you don't have your ascendant's it's well, this is the thing. You mentioned your birth time not being like positive, but your ascendant is close to that point. But like we're not sure, right? But like what's more important than any of this is Neptune, right? So to kind of break it down, it's like the astrology that Haley talks about, like it's not that I don't believe in it, it's just that I don't like I don't know, like I for me to like to think something's true, I need to. I'll give you an example, right? Like uh, like an asteroid, right? Like I need to understand, okay, where did it come from, right? Um, what's the history of it? I really need that proof because ultimately there's so many asteroids and stars in astrology to think that there's like literally like thousands and thousands and thousands. So to think that, you know, all of those matter is it's just not true. There's just it's impossible. Every astrologer that I've talked to and really like that I respect in that in astrology, like they all agree, right? It's like with fixed stars, especially, I learned a lot about that from my friend Julian. They have to be like smack on, like very very close, and asteroids it's the same relatively, right? So it's like you have your planets, which are like the most important, right? Everything laid out here. Let's go back to um let's go back to this. So these are the most important, right? And some of these are asteroids. Um, if for example, your ascendant was at like 13 or 14 Sag, um, then that's, obviously different, right? But as I was saying, like, for me, I need to know, right? I need to have that proof, and I understand, what the ancients have talked about, and I just have like a very when I learned astrology, when I taught myself astrology, I created a very, very strong backbone, where I could always lean on it, and everything just clicked. Like, it made so much sense, everything. So I feel like my grasp of what's important and what's not important is extremely high, right? And that's what I try to do, is I try to, like, yes, there's so many things in a chart that can be very important, and I also am always open to being wrong. I'm always open to be proven incorrect, and perhaps an unaspected asteroid, minor asteroid, that's just falling in a house or a sign, perhaps it still does speak to, a minor aspect of that, of life, right? But there's so many that it's just, um, they have to be activated essentially by planets, angles, right? So yeah, um, but yeah, it is cool stuff though, if you do have like a conjunction, right? So yeah, I mean, if your ascendant doesn't end up, if you get the ascendant or the exact time, but like, even like, I know that your time is like relatively close, so it's probably like not gonna you know be that big of a difference. But um the bigger thing would be if it was at 9 Sag, your ascendant, because then you'd have Antares rising, which is a royal star, 9 or 10, but it's at 6. So yeah. But anyways, as I was saying, so with the moon conjunct Pluto, it is, it'll definitely, like, there's lots of karma around the family. I always think that those people are the people who are meant to break the generational curses, and I feel like everyone that I know with moon conjunct Pluto has like some kind of like very interesting relationship with their mother. It's usually always the mother for that one. I've noticed. Now it's a conjunction, so it's not necessarily like bad or like difficult, right? But so like, it can come from a place of love, but there can be like lots of like fears and lots of passed on kind of generational trauma and whatnot. Um, through, and it's you're here, and you're trying to end this stuff, right? For future generations. So yeah, I mean, like, the moon in Libra by itself, gotta watch out for the people pleasing. It's very relationship oriented. It needs peace, needs tranquility. But then the Pluto conjunction is giving that Scorpio edge, or that need for depth, that need for intensity. So they kind of like clash, right? They're very different energies, Libra and Scorpio, obviously. And I think that when they can combine, it can uh, create like a super diplomat. Someone who's able to, super diplomat in the sense of someone who is like able to be very, very, very strong in their conviction, um, yet still balanced in the way that they approach life, but they're not giving in to, like, because some Libra moons, for example, and it's an air moon, so air moons sometimes can have difficulty with feeling emotions. Sometimes they can have difficulty with, with, like, there can be a tendency to like use logic over emotion, right? So yeah, with the Pluto, it definitely can create some experiences where you go deep, and it's the South Node where it is. Lots of lessons around whatever is happening with you know that relationship, that family, that early nurturing slash most likely mother relationship. Now, with that said, there's also karmically this real need for you to move away from groups of people, friends, right? So as a Libra moon, there can be a tendency to be too um submissive in the sense that you don't want to like shake the boat, you don't want to upset people. So not you, but just in general. So you may kind of let yourself like some people Libra moon, it's kind of like a low vibe Libra moon thing, and it's just it's one of those things where you can want peace and harmony in different situations, relationships, whether it's work or whatever, so much that you're willing to put yourself down. So it's really important to have emotional boundaries. But like also, 11th house Pluto, I always think about conditioning, past life conditioning, and how in this life it's super important for you to find groups of people. There's definitely like with all that fire, lots of leadership ability, right? So you're trying to like channel your past life gifts into this life. Now, with that said, it can be difficult to find the right groups, and a way to judge groups, associations, groups of friends, associations, like your tribe. I don't know. It's hard to kind of put into words, right? So the way to judge it is to the extent that they kind of push forward your conditioning, right? Like very conditioned people, that's not a good group for you. But to the extent to which they allow you to individuate, to be your own person, to be an individual within the group context, that's um, you know, a group that you should be working with or friends with or whatever it is. Now, Pluto 11th house also, there's, you can uncover a lot of hidden powers and have like a very, very important life mission, which is shown by your North Node conjunct Saturn, right? And Virgo. Um, South Node in Pisces, there's a past life tendency, like I was saying, to you can have all the best dreams, all the best, like, oh my god, this move, like I have just modern day example, like I have this idea for this screenplay, this movie, and it is actually truly amazing, but then you know something within you, whether it's an obligation, whatever it may be, pushes you from actually manifesting it. So that is difficult. And with Virgo, in 10th house, it's very, very clear that you're trying to move towards Earth. You're trying to move towards taking that mystical kind of like past life energy that you've accumulated and turn it into something tangible. So the word tangibility is very huge. Now, very important though is the Black Moon Lilith in Virgo, and that can be quite perfectionist, which obviously Leos aren't known as a very perfectionist sign, nor are Sag rising, so that has to be taken into consideration. Nor is a Gemini Mars, but you know your Saturn is very strong, and it's on your North Node, so it's part of your lesson is to be your own kind of metaphoric father, right, in this lifetime, and to go a direction that's to really kind of almost like to almost like really really look closely at what has held what has potentially held you back, um and to push yourself to create structures in your life, with Chiron the sixth house too in Taurus, right, which could be like your daily life as a healer, your job as a healer of some sort potentially, right? But like just the importance of moving towards legitimacy in your own eyes, and where you're very very responsible, like for example like an entrepreneur, right? They don't have to report to anyone, but you know, they do have that responsibility towards themselves, right? You know what I mean? So that is very, very important. And on top of that, there will be times, right, where you are tested in that your resolve is tested, because with North Node, Saturn opposite South Node, that means that kind of goes with what I've been saying, that there was a conditioning aspect in past lives that kept you away from your highest manifestation. Um, Probably a belief system, and that speaks to that Mercury retrograde, right? And now you're really meant to like look around and to travel and to really look like try on different philosophies in this lifetime. That's like a huge part of your chart. Um, so yeah, the big watch out is for being overly critical of yourself and overly critical of others. With that Pluto on the moon, it could have had like a mother, early nurturing, whoever it is, right? Where nothing was ever good enough, right? That's the potential. Nothing was ever good enough. So when nothing's ever good enough, or you are, you're like your acceptance, right? Like how you receive praise is linked to achievement. Um, that's difficult. And it has to be overcome, and that comes from leaning into your South Node and Pisces, and finding that self-compassion, right? Because the North Node in Virgo also is about service to humanity. So there could be like a very important way in which you're meant to be of service to humanity, through your work, right? And through who you are, just even if you don't work, who you like, kind of just like your the accumulation of your life on like an outer level. It could be as a mother, it could be your spiritual life, like even though that would be more internal, it still could be linked to that, right? So there's tons of potential, but definitely like you're here to learn responsibility and self-discipline and all these Saturnian rules, and also clear vision, right? And listening to others, hearing others' perspectives. So that's why you have all these planets like Gemini, Sag, you know these energies that are very, very mutable, right? You have mutable. Your Sag is mutable. Your South Node Pisces is mutable. Your North Node, or your Mars in Gemini is mutable, and then your Virgo energy, it's mutable. So you have all four mutables. Um, Immutable is all about go with the flow, and as ascendant in Sag, that's something that resonates with you, being able to go with the flow in life, right? um Not having to plan everything. Life can feel very stale if it's not, if you don't feel like kind of this adventurous um aspect. It can feel very stale, which is not good. So let's see here. Yum 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 yum. Kombucha, kombucha, kombucha. Hmm. let's see one thing. Okay. So, so Sun Square Chiron, with Leo Sun Square Chiron, the Sun, like I was saying before, oftentimes it's the father. Chiron is wounding. So, I have like that's like one of the most common Chiron signs I have, is Taurus, and often, you can think of it as probably early on issues with self-esteem, maybe feeling good in your own skin, and it could have also come because it's squaring the sun from something, from some type of criticism, right? Or just something that kind of like, I guess, I guess just didn't, yeah, like oftentimes it is around criticism, from the father. That's what I found with that one. Um, so that very energy though is what, turns you into someone who can be an outstanding healer. Um, it's just about, kind of getting past that. And it also squares Mercury. So, that can be kind of just like wounds around, like, like there's that potential of like, having been a little bit different, right? In terms of like what you thought, what you thought of and whatnot. Not what you thought of, like your way of thinking, right? Linked to the karmic path. So the square with Chiron could mean that, like, whether your father or just kind of an authority early in life kind of challenged that in a way. So, that's never easy peasy. Um, Never easy peasy. But yeah, so it brings up like another issue, like unleashing the Leo, and that is through wisdom. That is through just continuous acquisition of wisdom. Um, best way I can put it. And the more the like the more wisdom you get, the more perspectives you see, the more you're willing to, the more you're willing to kind of just put to the side like any self-limiting beliefs. You start to gain that deeper awareness, and that is major. So, that's really important stuff right there, my friend. Very important stuff. Um, Now, I want to see one thing. So, kind of a way that everything culminates. Um, so I mentioned a lot already. There are some very incredible gifts you have, especially as it relates to intuition. And I already mentioned kind of the idea, of the Neptune. But when we add, the first house, that being like a big part of your personality and just your everyday, who you are, what people see, and so forth. Um, Uranus is in the 12th. So with Uranus in the 12th, we're talking about big time energy of being able to really get like downloads when you're in like dream states, meditative states, and so forth. So that is super important. I think Uranus in the 12th is a fascinating, fascinating placement. It really is. It's very fascinating. Because you can just have these like these like when you're able to kind of calm the mind, especially with your South Node in, you know, intuitive Pisces, you can just get these. It can be like a lot of times it can be experienced as what's it called? Where you just know things, claircognizance, right? Where you just I have that. Like you just know things, you don't know how you knew it, but you just know, right? So people of Uranus and 12, they have a gift. How to use the gift is the question. Because I love Uranus and 12. You know, it's one of those places, one of those placements that I love, right? Um, just feels so free there. And yeah, the best way to deal with it is to really have meditation in your life. To really not, if you're able to, you know, to wake up slow each day and meditate, you know, meditate to start the day. And just dream journal is another great one. Or a meditation journal, right? There's so many potentials, right? It's ridiculous. So, um, Uranus, you know, in lots of it can be it's basically like also really giving you this desire to be very different, um, right? It's this desire to be to stand out from the crowd, to not just be like everyone else. Um, and especially when it comes to spirituality, right? There's this desire to have your own spiritual kind of journey that's very, very different than everyone else's. And finding your voice is key to that, right? You have part of Fortune Palace in Aquarius, third house, very intuitive placements there too, right? Ability to, you know, see, you know, great fortune comes when you're using that third eye and you're really, really moving into that kind of part of your brain that thinks, you know, is able to plan ahead and is able to, like, it's like a chess player energy, right? And have very innovative and ahead of your time ideas. And you know, part of fortune there, it's a point that speaks about your greatest joys, wherever it falls, or joy slash flow state. So in third house, it's like, you know, you're at you're feeling your best joy when you're being Aquarius, when you're being your authentic self, right? Which is like, you know, Leo. It's the opposite sign of Leo, and they're similar. They're very similar. They're probably the most similar of any of the six axes. I would like yeah, I think I have to look at that more, but that's yeah, I mean I thought that for a while. But when you're really being your own individual self, so like past any conditioning, and when your throat chakra, you know, when you're really speaking your truth, when you're really studying and learning and talking about the things that you want to talk about, and you know, when you've unlocked any potential shyness, things like that, things like that. Now, let me think about one thing. Sometimes I need to take a little meditation breaks. Not meditation, but just sitting with the chart for a sec. Well, well, well. I think that when we look at your Chiron conjunct Vesta also, like we can think of like how, you know, working as a healer, like that could be, you know, Vesta is very related to work, right? That's more of like a fun version of it than like Saturn. So, uh, you know, where you can just get a lot out of kind of your own healing journey, which plays like kind of a daily role in your life, um, which then can be translated to other people's, right? So that's some cool stuff. So with like, you know, Venus, Mars, like kind of love in general, as I said, you know, like Libra moons, I don't care, you know, what conjunction, even if it's conjunct Pluto, like there is that, you know, which the Pluto conjunction, yeah, it can kind of create this like this very like soulmate or nothing type energy. And like you know, I'll say this right now, you know, I recognize that, you know, you may be married, maybe you're not, I don't know. I don't look at any of my clients, anything about any of my clients ever, like before I do a reading. And basically, you know, with the North Node journey, it's just, you know, like just with love in general, when I start to talk about that, I'm always like, all right, it's very important that you're you know, that you're that whoever you would be with or you're with or whatever is not pushing you away from that level of kind of like self-responsibility and um movement towards Virgo, right? um High Virgo, right? Which is, as I've mentioned many times, self-discipline, the day-to-day health, right? Like mental, physical, emotional, all that stuff, like really really like taking care of the small things. But in terms of like, you know, and then the moon, right? There's a big need for like that real depth with the Pluto, but like also that real balance and quiet and kind of peace and a fair relationship, right? It needs to be fair. It can't be not unfair. It can't, yeah, it's very beautifully said anyway, isn't it? Now with Venus conjunct Vertex in, you know, 29 Cancer, you know, we have a very karmic love energy, eighth house too, where it will be in your relationships that you go through lots of these transformations. is yeah. So very faded. So any relationships that happen for you, like there's a lot of fate that plays out, and it's meant to move you towards that kind of doorway to higher awareness. Now, with that said, I want to kind of like also say the 29-degree solidifies it because your birth time, we're not like sure exactly what it is. Like the vertex moves extremely fast, so it could be even closer, but it could be further. But like even regardless, it's like eighth house Venus and water sign Cancer. It's like it's also very good for the esoteric and for being like kind of a natural. It gives you like what I like to call like a flashlight in the areas of life that might be very scary to other people and kind of dark and people don't get it. To you, it might just make sense, right? Um, so that's important there. But Mars, being in your seventh house in your seventh house ruled by Gemini with Juno, right? So Juno's like your ideal mate. Um, Signifies, that you want an adventure buddy, right? And as a Sag rising, that's definitely the case. Um, so what I mean by that is that, you might be someone who can get bored quite easily, and you need to be best friends or very, very close on like that intellectual level with a partner, or else it just won't work, right? It just won't work. It just won't work. So, mega important. But like the Venus, back to kind of what I was saying with that, it's very important yeah, to have those types of relationships that are life changing and that are really moving you, that you're able to kind of communicate your emotions in a smooth way, and you'll value emotional expression even if you're an air moon. Um so it could just be something that gets you there, that gets you uh, to that while still mixing in, gets you to kind of like your depth, right? While still mixing in a level of fun, but without fun slash, lots of like curiosity, lots of intellectual talks, and um, just communication in general is very important for you. It is an air moon too. And hmm, I don't want to approach this. So, yeah, I mean, a seventh house Juno is just like someone who's really looking for a relationship, who's very relationship oriented, and who's able to see the beauty in their partner, which is another thing the Libra moon can be so good at. It's just like about not overdoing it to the point to where you're kind of self-sabotaging in a sense, right? In this like by for example, going for potential as opposed to reality. Um, mm, mm. Mars in the seventh house, it can create some fights. Um, there can be some fighting. There can be some, yeah, some. It can also kind of bring enemies to one's life. That's just one thing to be cognizant of. Seventh house rules partners, of all, one-on-one partners, even business partners, right? Um, I believe it rules BFFs, like the friendships that are like almost essentially relationships, especially like that women tend to have because they're more emotionally based typically. And yeah, let's see. Let's see here. Children. I definitely think children, if you have some, like, Jupiter and Leo is like loves children. That's like 1,000,000,000%, right? Um, it's just always the case. It's the lock. And, you know, I kind of spoke on it already before, but yeah, it's just the individual is usually very, very they sometimes have to, yeah, there can be like an over expansiveness, right? That they sometimes have to like watch out for, in the sense of like not, going into things, especially with the fire in general, just like going into things too fast, essentially, right? So that's just, I always tell people who have that fire in them to cool the jets a little bit, or not cool the jet, but to just like, make sure that they, um, that they're doing things right, and that they, as my grandpa always says, sleep on any big decisions. But let's see. So Ceres is in Aries, so you feel very nurtured in fifth house, like when you're being creative and when you're able to kind of just play and able to be very independent, and you enjoy that from partners as well. So it's very playful energy in that respect. But when we look at, let's see, hmm, wait, what? So yeah, and then there's a loose conjunction. No. Wow, you have 29.59 Venus. That's like crazy. That's like the last point zero one for being a Leo Venus. So it's just like super karmic, like lessons around like the Cancer Venus and all that. Just kind of cool. But yeah, like overall that energy, if you think of like, you have what I have, which is the moon opposite series. So yeah, it's just that there's a big major importance on relationships in this life, and on getting it right in the sense of, in the sense of the balance between Libra, which would be like full codependency, and Aries, which is the opposite, you know. Aries is just like not really caring, and not really like just like not willing to make compromises basically. So, finding the right balance there is super important. Super, super, super important. Um, hmm. What am I gonna pull? All my fixed stars. Is it time yet? Yeah, I just can't emphasize enough just like the importance of trial and error in your chart and just in your I mean in your life and um and how you are here to just do things, you know? You're here to just go. And if, if whatever you do ends up being a mistake, right? It's important to not look back on that experience as, you miss every shot you can't take or you don't take, as Kobe, I think, said, or is it Michael Jordan? I can't remember. But the point, is that because of the nodal axis, you've been held back in that respect, of truly being able to go out and individuate, and it's just really really important for you to do that. So yeah, yeah. Okay, so let's see here. Ooh, damn. Okay, so um, model that Lilith is on your that's on your Pluto, that's on your moon, so that's good. So that's the thing. Like if you were born like a little bit later, your moon could be conjunct Spica. Um, I mean, it would have to be like moon's like 13 degrees in a day, so it'd be like it'd be like it's basically conjunct Spica, but we don't know. We don't know. So if you do, get that correct birth time and your moon ends up being closer to 23, 24 Libra, then tell me. um or just search on Google. You can search Spica astrology and go to the article by Astrology King, or no, Dark Moon Astrology, and then just see what it says for Spica conjunct moon. But not but like from this perspective, it just it's one of the best stars, but this would be like kind of just out of orb. Um, and same thing if with your ascendant, if it happened to be close to, you see the Antares, right? It's out of orb, but um, that's a royal star. Spica isn't technically a royal star, but might as well be one. Mhm. Okay, there I am. There I am. Also, just so you know, actually, yeah, yeah. So it's not. if you do like find out like an exact birth time that's different than for like just shoot me a message and just tell me like, hey, you did my chart, because it's not changing a lot, right? There's just potential that if it's like, I don't know, an hour later, if it's an hour later, right, it's moving quite a bit actually. Even if it's like 15 minutes later or 20 minutes later, it's a big difference, So just you can just let me know. I'd be happy to tell you. Okay, I'm like staring at all these that are so close together, trying to differentiate. Okay, so there's none there. Here we have, is that Sirius? No, Karma. Yeah, Karma conjunct Sun. So the asteroid Karma conjunct Sun and Mercury. So, yeah, that's just like speaking about just like destiny. I mean, it's very self-explanatory that that asteroid is playing a major part in your life. Or karma, just in general, is playing a very big role in your travels, and you also have Aphrodite, which is about beauty. So Aphrodite is like princess beauty, right? Conjunct your sun. So I just think of like princess, just beauty, right? Aphrodite. And then where's that? Wait, 7, 8, 8. No, it's on your Jupiter, which is even better. So yeah, okay. Interesting. So your sun moon midpoint is right on your Saturn North Node. So it's kind of saying how like the coming together of your feminine and masculine, of the Leo and the Libra, is through your North Node Saturn journey of legitimate, everything I talked about, like legitimatizing and really really kind of that self responsibility. And Saturn, it's no surprise that you have karma on your sun Mercury, because Saturn is the planet of karma. Now, is this the nebula? Let me guess. No. Mm, okay, let's see here. Let's see something real quick. So you have a angel, asteroid angel on your midheaven exact, and there's two. One definition is like a very very spiritual being, right? Who is almost like a messenger of God, right? And then like lots of virtue, and then that's kind of how you're seen by other people, right? Which is very cool. Um, so yeah, just like you're here to be like, to you're a spiritual being that's, yeah, a messenger guide, um of the divine, you know, of like you understand deeply, and you're a conduit from, to help people. So I don't know, I just affirmation just came to my brain, that word. So that's interesting. Um, so yeah, like if it's on the midheaven, that's huge. Oh, and then oh damn, I didn't even see that. So yeah, Amor, which is maybe I always talk about it, like maybe my favorite asteroid is conjunct your Mars, and you have Capella conjunct Mars. So that's a wealth one, a wealth star. But Amor is an asteroid, and it has to do with unconditional love. So when you have Amor activated in your chart and Angel, I can already feel your energy. Like it's just like it's a more the reason I like it so much is because um obviously I work with it more in synastry, but it is basically giving someone, and it's in your seventh house with on your Mars, right? So it's like you could be someone who, let's say you date someone or you marry someone or you're with someone for a long time, things don't work out, and you can still keep that unconditional love for that person. But even bigger than that, it can just speak of having just unconditional love in your heart in general, right? Um, for humanity, for like being able to have like that deep compassion, right? Of seeing like the homeless person struggling or just whatever it might be. So it's a really beautiful asteroid to have activated, and I think it combines with so many other things in your chart. Um, let's see here. So yeah, I find that fascinating. So let me go back to just let's actually check out this real quick. What's this? Yeah, something like karmic, like asteroid. So it's like definitely a lifetime of karma in a good way. Is I mean, you don't have like these aspects that are like all difficult. Just one other list I have of asteroids. Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. Yeah. So also like yeah, Cupido conjunct Moon. So is that Cupido? Yeah. So that's a very like flirtatious, kind of sexy energy. I feel weird saying that word, but um, so that can add that kind of edge. So Aphrodite, Cupido are like one's beauty, one's kind of like flirtiness, this sex kind of sexy, flirty kind of energy. So yeah. Um, let me see one other thing. So I'm looking at this. So what most people do. Ooh, I see something. Okay, good. Yeah. I was just checking the aspect patterns and I see a T square between three outers, but still. But basically like what I was gonna tell you is like nearly everyone who gets the reading from me like this, they get the reading. There's the follow-up. Obviously it's like the 1 hour session, which is just about the natal chart, right? And then there's the current astrology / spiritual alignment. That So basically, we set a time. Most people add that, and I would offer it to you for 250 instead of like I think it's like 380 or 400 or something like that. It becomes a 3 hour live Zoom meeting. First hour is already, follow up, and then we go into all of your current astrology. I mean, I say, it varies with time. I'm doing things more efficiently in less time now. I had one the other day for the first time that was under 3 hours. Um, but yeah, it's just like a really amazing affirming. I go through all, instead of like some astrologers will like have like reading for slow return, reading for progressions, reading for transits, reading for house ingress for, I could if I wanted to, I could do a full reading for like your progress chart, like everything, like your progress cycle, like all these things, but I just do it all in one. So let me know, and if you're interested, we can set a time and date. It won't be like a long wait like this was. It's just like my next available time, which actually, if someone doesn't take, I did offer it. um I had a cancellation for Monday, this next Monday, but you probably, like most people, need more time to take in the reading, everything, right? So one other thing is, yeah, so you have a T square, and it's, Uranus opposite Chiron, and they both square. They actually both square the sun. Well, Jupiter mainly, but also the sun and Mercury, that whole stellium. So, if we kind of take those together, like your Leo energy is being, um, square. And I didn't really go into this, but like, because it's kind of like a, the Uranus, like 9, nearly 10 degrees square of sun, but that can create someone who's just a very, very unconventional, who sometimes, like, who has like a very important life purpose, but it might not be till later in life that they truly discover it. Might go through lots of changes. They're just not very rebellious, all that, right? And then the Chiron, I already spoke about that, the square, which relates to pain. Now that shoots out in Aquarius, the third house, which is about the resolution point, right? It's like a bow and arrow. It's like a T square, and it shoots out. So, third house Aquarius is all about, just being, um, it's where your part of fortune is. So I already spoke about it, like being in your authentic voice, and not afraid to speak your truth, essentially. And, the fact that you also have Moon, making a nice sextile to Neptune just adds even more intuitive knowledge and wisdom to you. It's an exact sextile. Um, and really, really just like someone who can like use their sensitivity. It's very good for like spirituality and the art. And then Moon in Mars is really good for like being able to like kind of, it's very good for self-confidence and self-motivation, and kind of rising to the challenge and seeing opportunities and taking them. So that's very, very good energy that's helping you towards your North Node. So I just wanted to add that in there. But yeah, so lots of messages here. Let's see how I did on time. I'm getting everything across in the same way. Because I had a while where I was just like, my readings were taking like, I'm like, I just can't keep doing this. I can't keep having like hours, like 2 hour long readings. But I was probably guessing pretty close to it. Yeah, 1:30. Oh my God. So yeah, let me know about that reading, or about connecting for the follow-up and the live. Regardless, you already have the follow-up, so just let me know about that. And yeah, we'll go in the follow-up, we'll go over this chart, and then if you want to add the current, then we add that. But oh, there's one thing I didn't see, which is Saturn squaring the ascendant. So yeah, that can actually speak to that they're just feeling kind of like it's one aspect that I didn't see early on. Just feeling kind of held back in your self-expression early on, and But like, because we don't, yeah, like with the ascendant, like it can change based on your birth time if it was a little bit different, but still, regardless, um, it would tend to make one like first 30 years like more shy and have to overcome a lot to truly move through life with their best foot forward, I guess you can say. And just like different things coming up that kind of are blocking that Sagittarian desire to just expand. And then Venus, squaring the midheaven and either no wait, that doesn't make sense. Mars square midheaven, yeah. It's 7th house, so that can just speak to how there's a potential for relationships and any kind of because Mars in 7th house also, one thing I didn't say is that it can give like a great drive towards relationships. Like there can be just like a lot of like energy pushed into that. So that would just speak to like the how that needs to be balanced with your career and with your purpose, and how if you favor relationships too much, it can really get in the way of you you know midheaven in Virgo, right, which is ruled by Mercury retrograde, and it could be very artistic. I wouldn't be surprised if you're some kind of artist, healer, whatever, something along those lines, more right brain abstract. Um, so yeah, like just once again, I talked about the Aries Libra, um, opposition in everyone's chart. So that's just emphasized even further. So, anyways, thank you so much, and I hope you enjoyed. And talk soon. Hopefully, we have the extended reading. Just let me know on DM, and talk to you soon. All right.